In 1967, soul singer Otis Redding recorded his signature song, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. Sadly, Redding died before the song was released. It was the first time a song had reached number 1 after the singer had died. However, there were some in his camp who thought recording the song would be a bad idea. But why were they against it? And what was the mystery behind the whistle at the end of the song? In this video, we will explore these issues along with the details of Redding's tragic death. This is the real story behind the song, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay, by Otis Redding.
Songs are like timestamps through your journey in life. They can remind you of exactly where you were, what you were doing, and who you were with. The good times that you want to remember, and the bad ones you'd rather forget. But every song has its own unique story that inspired the songwriter and moved him to share their experience with us. In this video, we will follow the songwriters on their journey and discover the real story behind the song.
The 1968 song, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay, became the signature song for R&B soul singer Otis Redding. It peaked at number 1 on both the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and Hot Rhythm and Blues singles charts. The song was written in 1967 by Otis Redding and music producer Steve Cropper. Cropper was also a guitarist for the group Booker T and the MGs. You may also remember Steve Cropper appearing as himself in the 1980s film The Blues Brothers and the sequel, Blues Brothers 2000. Redding started writing the song while on tour with a teenage group called the Bar-Kays in August 1967. He wrote the first verse while staying at a boathouse in California. According to his road manager, Redding was relaxing while gently strumming his acoustic guitar and singing the following 2 lines over and over for several days. Sittin' in the morning sun. I'll be sittin' when the evening come. He initially titled it Dock of the Bay, which later became the album title. He continued working on the song during the tour by writing lyrics on everything from sheets of paper to napkins. In November of 1967, he recorded the first version of the song at the Stax recording studio in Memphis, Tennessee. On December 7, he and Cropper worked on the final version. They only needed to make a few tweaks before releasing it. Tragically, just 3 days after he recorded the song, Otis Redding was killed when his private plane crashed into Lake Monona in Wisconsin on December 10, 1967. He was only 26. 7 of the 8 passengers, which included the pilot and a valet, all drowned in the lake. The plane is said to have experienced engine failure just minutes after takeoff. Among the dead were 4 original members of the Bar-Kays, who were performing with Redding. Only one person survived the crash. Trumpeter Ben Colley, who clung to a seat cushion until he was rescued. Another member of the Bar-Kays, James Alexander, was on a different flight, because there was no room for him on the small plane. The 4 Bar-Kays who died in the crash were organist, Ronnie Caldwell, drummer, Carl Cunningham, guitarist, Jimmy King, all age 18, and saxophonist, Fallon Jones, who was 19. The group's valet, Matthew Kelly, also died. He was just 17. Once word got out that Redding had died and before his body was even found, the record company rushed Cropper to get the single finished. According to Cropper, that's just the way record companies operate. The song was released on January 8, 1968, 1 month after Redding's death. It was the first time a song topped the charts after the artist had died. While coming up with the lyrics during his stay at the boathouse, Redding literally had watched the ferry ships go back and forth. There is some debate over who actually wrote the line, "I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay." Some say it was Redding, since he did come from Georgia and go to the Bay Area. However, he was not in San Francisco Bay when he wrote the song. He was actually miles away in an area called Richardson Bay. Others believe it was Cropper who actually wrote it, because he thought Redding was in San Francisco Bay at the time. And Redding simply sang the lines he was given in the studio. While that is a possibility, it could also have been a desire of both men to use words that went well with the song's melody. Let's face it, Frisco Bay would obviously sound better than Richardson Bay. Another change Redding made was to the line, "I can't do what 10 people tell me to." On the first take, he wrote, "I can't do what 20 people tell me to do," but decided 10 sounded better. So clearly he was looking for words and phrases that went along with the song's melody. Redding, known mostly as a soul artist, said that he had wanted "The Dock of the Bay" to be a change of style for him. Cropper agreed and felt that they finally had a hit that could cross over to the pop charts. However, some of his team did not support the new style. They didn't think it was soulful enough and may cause Otis to lose his core audience. Even his wife didn't like the change. Since he was a big fan of the British pop group The Beatles, she thought it was affecting his music. But Redding felt the change was needed. He even predicted that it would be his first #1 record and the biggest he ever had. He was right, as "Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay" went straight to #1 on the pop charts. It also won Grammys for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance and Best R&B Song. Before his death, Otis wanted to take his career in a new direction. It said that he felt too restricted by the Stax record label. They wanted him to remain a soul singer, while he wanted more creative control. There are rumors that he even considered producing, switching record companies, or even starting his own label. Even though his new song was a departure from the Redding style, both Cropper and Redding still wanted to add something to give the song a more soulful sound. Cropper suggested using the staple singers as background vocals. This seemed like a good idea since the soul singing family was about to be signed with Stax Records. Redding agreed. But after his sudden death, executives at Atlantic Records, who handled the distribution for Stax, were demanding a quick release. So there was no time to produce any background vocals. Since Redding wrote his lyrics while at a boathouse, he could hear the seagulls and ocean waves. So Cropper decided to add the sound of ocean waves and seagulls to the final version. According to Cropper, Otis was known for ad-libbing at the end of a song. But this time he couldn't come up with anything, so he just whistled at the end. The story goes that producers liked it so much they decided to leave it in. Another story is that he whistled to fill a gap and they would add lyrics later. Cropper, who was also the song's producer, was even quoted as saying, "Had Otis come back that Monday, there would have been a different ending." But then you have the CEO of Stax Records saying it was not a placeholder. Rather, he described it as the very essence coming out of Otis. Either way, the fact that Redding whistled on each of the 3 takes leads some to conclude that it was intended. Whether it would have been replaced had he not died is something we will never know. To add to the mystery, there has been much debate over who actually whistles at the end of the song. It was said that Redding's whistle was too weak in the studio, so it was re-recorded using the whistle of the group's bandleader in place of Redding's. But Cropper insists that he chose to stick with Redding's original whistle on the final version. When you listen to the song's ending, the whistle actually sounds rather weak. So Cropper's explanation does seem more accurate. As for the distinctive guitar sound, it's said that Cropper thought of the sound of the seagulls in the song. So he decided to play his guitar at a higher pitch in order to fit the mood. Redding recorded the song with Booker T and the MGs. At the time, they were the house band for Stax Records. Sadly, due to his untimely death, Redding never got to witness the success of his greatest achievement. There is little doubt that releasing the song soon after Redding died boosted the record sales. However, it was also popular because it resonated with the down and out, the depressed, or anyone simply seeking a calm, quiet place to collect their thoughts. The song was also a favorite among American soldiers during the Vietnam War. No doubt it spoke to the loneliness of being in the jungles of another country, thousands of miles away from home, watching the military ships come and go. They were actually living the words to this song. In the end, Otis Redding and Steve Cropper took a song with a few simple lyrics and produced a hit record that anyone can relate to at some point in their life. It's one of those songs that never gets old. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Our weekly videos will feature such topics as stupid crime stories, classic TV, and the real stories behind popular songs from the past and present. There will be even more categories as we continue to grow.